It's good enough for the state of Hawaii and the State Department.
Okay.
U.S. State Department recognizes these as legitimately.
It's not a birth certificate, Candy, and people are trying to figure out why isn't he giving his birth certificate. It's not a birth certificate. A certificate of live birth, and you can see that one that you have and the one that I brought you, because that's the one that's on the internet and all over the place. It doesn't even have a serial number. It doesn't have a signature. It doesn't have a signature. One that I saw on television has a stamp. But that's not a signature.
Right, but that's how they
Excuse me, but that's not the one that they were showing to everybody. And I just say very simply, why doesn't he show his birth certificate? Why has he spent over $2 million in legal fees to keep this quiet and to keep this silent? When I listened today to the tape of the grandmother, and she was saying he was born essentially in Kenya, and then all of a sudden, don't forget, this is when Barack Obama was hot as a pistol because it looked like he was going to get the nomination, and they had a lot of people and a lot of handlers in there, and all of a sudden you hear people all over the room, no, 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 he was born in Hawaii, he was born in Hawaii. But she didn't say that.
But they said it was a misinterpretation.
They drowned her out. She was like, there were a lot of people in that room, and she said, Kenya, he was born right here, and then they started saying, screaming, no, 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 you mean Hawaii, you mean Hawaii. There's a lot of crazy things. Look, I don't like to talk about this issue too much because I really would rather talk about China. I would really rather talk about what OPEC is doing to destroy us. I would really rather talk about other things. But I'll be honest with you. I started this, and I heard the question for the first time 4 weeks ago. And I assumed, although I had heard about it for years, I assumed that he was born in the United States, meaning in Hawaii. I assumed that. The more I go into it, the more suspect it is.
Two quick things here, Elliot. One is that there is a certificate of live birth that has the stamp of the state of Hawaii and a signature on it that is out there. Number of people have gone there, have checked it out. The tape recording he's talking about, an interview with Barack Obama's grandmother on his father's side, where she, according to those in the room, mistakenly misunderstood what was going on in the interpretation. A lot of people say, listen, you know, she didn't understand. He was born in Hawaii. Others say, no, she said the truth. So it's the kind of thing I said to him, this is going to go on for, this is a conspiracy theory. This is going to go on for 20 years. And he said, but it shouldn't. So he's found this issue. He certainly is writing it. We talked about a lot of other things, Libya and the economy, but this is something that he has grabbed onto. It's made him quite popular among those within the Republican Party who believe this. And he is not to be deterred, no matter how much evidence you put out there. He thinks there is more to this, despite, you know, sort of paper after paper that you show him.
You know, Candy, you are so right when you say it has actually built a little bit of a foundation for the notion that he could run and become the president of the United States. In a poll of Republicans these days, he came in second. He's behind Mitt Romney, but then Donald Trump. Romney had 21. He had 17. Sarah Palin's down at 10. So clearly Donald Trump has named. Look, one thing you've got to say about Donald Trump, he has been magnificent over the last 30 years at building a brand, getting his name out there, developing a large base in the population that respects him. Now, whether that can withstand the rigors of a presidential or any political campaign is a whole different matter. But I got to tell you, I'm a little surprised he would take this birth certificate issue. I think in an odd way it diminishes Donald Trump, because here's somebody who, had he elevated himself and spoken only about energy policy or Libya or economic development, would have had a certain mystique about him. Talking about birth certificates, I don't know. It just doesn't seem to be the right way to go.
Well, you know, I tell you, any number of Republicans have publicly said, get off of this. You know, this is, not a winning issue for Republicans. And I asked him that. I said, listen, there are people out there, Republicans, who really, if you want to talk conspiracy theories, who say, first of all, this is just to talk to the voters, the conservative voters in the primary process. But second of all, there are those who have said to me, you know what, I think he's actually trying to boost Obama, because every time he goes out there and does this, it sort of paints Republicans, they believe, as these sort of people who are hung up on something that other people have proven, or, you know, beyond a lot of people's reasonable doubt, that is untrue. And I asked him about it, and he said, you know, I started out like that, but I don't believe that. And he said, everybody's dismissed as being, you know, stupid, and they don't know anything if they bring this up. I agree with you, and he's very good on other subjects. We talked about OPEC and China and Libya and other things. He has a very, and this surprised me, he's a very populist voice. I can see his message about, you know, why are we fighting wars for other countries? I mean, that's also a big theme of his. You know, and I can see it taking hold. So it's interesting. But if the idea was, I want to reach those conservative voters who might look at me askance otherwise, certainly the polls would indicate that he's done some of that. But you know, polls, a lot of it's name recognition. It's early on.
Absolutely.